One of the most frequently asked questions from new yo-yo players is what kind of yo-yo should I get? There are many factors to think about when buying a new yo-yo, but today we're going to focus on three of the most important ones for beginners: shape, axle, and response. Alright, so first we're going to talk about the different kinds of shapes. The first shape, and the most popular shape, is the butterfly. Now the butterfly is the widest of all the yo-yo shapes. It comes in either a rounded form, like the Freehand 2 here, or a flared, like in the Omega Firestorm. Now beginners and professionals alike enjoy the butterfly shape. That's because the butterfly shape is wide and it's good for single-handed string tricks. It also works really well for young players because the shape fits well into the hand. However, while butterfly shapes are good for string tricks, they're not as good for looping tricks. This next shape is the imperial shape. Now the imperial shape is the complete opposite of the butterfly shape. To compare, the butterfly shape is wide and the imperial shape is much more narrow. We would only recommend the imperial shaped yo-yo if you're only interested in doing the classic or beginner tricks. If you want something more advanced, you might want to look elsewhere. What I would recommend instead would be a yo-yo that has what's called the modified shape. This last shape is a hybrid between the butterfly and the imperial. The modified shape is like the imperial shape except it has the rounded gap. It's mainly used for looping tricks or two-handed yo-yo tricks, as you'll see more advanced players use, but it can do some string tricks. So we would recommend this for beginning yo-yo players and advanced yo-yo players alike. The next thing we're going to talk about is the axle system. The axle system is really important in a yo-yo because that determines how long your yo-yo sleeps. For beginners, we recommend either a fixed axle or a transaxle. And without going into too much detail, I'm going to discuss sort of the mechanics of how this works. This is a fixed axle yo-yo, and what that means is the axle and the sides of the yo-yo are bound together. So when the yo-yo spins at the bottom of the string, everything spins with it. This adds a lot of friction between the axle and the string, so the yo-yo will not sleep as long. So basic thing to take away from that is if you have a fixed axle yo-yo, it might sleep 10-20 seconds if you throw a good sleeper. The next that we would recommend for a beginner is the transaxle yo-yo. The transaxle has one extra piece that sits around the main axle, and this allows for slightly longer sleeper time, say 20 to 25 seconds, even for an average player. Now the last system we're going to talk about is the ball bearing system. The ball bearing system is the most complicated but also yields the longest sleepers. Most yo-yos that use a ball bearing system have at least 3 pieces, so they're not as user-friendly for beginning or younger players. However, for those who are more advanced, you can do just about any yo-yo trick you need, and they'll sleep from 1 to 5 minutes, even more depending on the yo-yo. So now the last thing you need to be aware of before buying your yo-yo is your yo-yo's response system. And what we mean by response system is how well the yo-yo comes back to your hand. Without getting too technical, there are yo-yos that are responsive and yo-yos that are unresponsive. This is an unresponsive yo-yo, meaning no matter how hard I tug, it will not come back to my hand. These yo-yos are meant for more advanced players, so we do not recommend them if you're just starting to yo-yo. What we would recommend, however, is a responsive yo-yo. These yo-yos will still sleep for the most part, but they will come back to your hand with a simple tug. They can also do looping tricks, which are essential to most beginning yo-yo players. The bottom line is, if you're just starting out yo-yoing, we recommend a responsive yo-yo. As you shop for your first yo-yo, you will see many other features besides the 3 mentioned here. However, shape, axle, and response system are the most important features for beginning yo-yo players.